Everybody have a seat when we get started. We've got a lot to do this morning, and we're going to have a good morning. We're going to have a good morning, good day of training. We're excited about it. So. It's funny, you guys said sister. I don't know anybody's last name. It's crazy. I like to know everybody's.
Tired of sleeping on the sidewalk, working at the bus stop, night to morning.
We only had 11, I think, didn't we? We lost if you lose a third, it looks like it's a big deal, right?
And it's still dark where I'm going.
May end up being our best. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, so let's get started. I've got a good friend of mine that is listening in right now from Italy, so I just want to say hey, Mike, to you, and look forward to give us about a few minutes, another couple of modules, and can't wait to talk to our class. So before we do that, where we're going to go today, we have some skills that we're going to introduce you. Some of them might be reviewed, but this is the skills that we're introducing you today. At the end of the day, you're going to have a skill assessment where you say, hey, I'm red, amber, green. So let's just go through that. We're still wanting to help you increase your self-awareness. We still want you to connect with others. We're going to be using BDP, Digital Training Platform. We're going to talk about group dynamics really at the end of lunch. After lunch today, we're going to end up putting your squad. You can look at your squad, like multiple 3 or 4 people. We're going to talk about, we just call that group dynamics, but really we're just looking at your squad. So it's really important if you could end up going back and looking at your command team. You could look at your battalion commander, corps commander, you look at your sergeant major with your first sergeant, or you look at your own home squad. So we're going to do that after lunch. We're going to continue to talk about movement and stress. Throughout the day, we're going to talk about interpreting sequences, and then we're going to talk about how to implement core in your squad. So that's where we're going today. And this morning, it's really important that what do we do when you leave here? So we want to do that at the beginning because it's important. A lot of times, if you guys are like me at the end of the training, they're like, okay, now we got to cover some admin stuff, and I'm like checked out. Like, hey, so admin stuff is not a tag. It's sort of what we do next after this. And so we're going to cover that right now because it's a priority for us as a company. And we believe it's sort of your success of how you're going to do with a framework and with using the digital training platform. So we're going to cover that right now. And that's why Michael's up here with me. And you're going to hear a couple of other team members talk this module with us. So I'm going to turn it over to Michael.
Thanks, Rob.
Oh, yeah.
So this was a slide we put up Wednesday morning. Figured we'd give you a little bit more information here as to the different types of accounts. Just go through again how we're structured. So the base account, that's a free account that y'all were sending out to folks, getting their sequences, and the person that sets up the base account, they get a brief paragraph that describes their sequence and just what their sequence letters are. They can't send that to anybody else, and so that's really your way as a facilitator or as a core account holder of connecting with people in your squad and getting to know about them. The core account, that's a paid for account that the Army has paid for. And again, those are the ones that we want your soldiers to get. And you don't have to put them through a 2-day training for them to get a core account. That it could be part of a weekend type training, a small group setting, just over a cup of coffee. If somebody you're meeting with them and you just feel like they could benefit from it, and you just want to get them started with understanding themselves or their significant other or whatever that appropriate form is. As facilitators, y'all can grant them core accounts, and then like we said earlier, they will have access to pretty much everything that we went over to date, except for the that movement tool that we previewed for y'all yesterday afternoon. An important feature here, and it's a learning from our first class, is um, the facilitators, you all do a great job of setting up companion accounts because we really push that, and we think that's important. What we've seen though is from the core accounts that were granted in the previous class, those core account holders aren't really setting up companion accounts. And we want the soldiers to connect with their spouses and their significant others. And so it's important that you as facilitators encourage them to do that. And it's a one-time designation, so they need to be mindful of that because we don't want them passing it around because again, the companion account gets the same access to the information that a core account has. And so a core account can send invites to people in their squad and send basically base account invites. So you as facilitators, in addition to those capabilities, one other thing before I leave core accounts. So we've set it up where as long as the soldier is active in the Army, then they have access to this account. And you'll hear us talk about there's going to be continued updates and upgrades and new information that we push onto the platform. And so they'll have access to all of that as long as they stay active in the Army. When they're setting up their core account, they have to verify that with a .mil or a .mail.mil email address in order to set that up. Yes. Yes. So again, our intention is not just to help the soldier, but to help the soldier and their spouse, because correct. Yes. Yes. The spouse can use it, the companion account, basically the same way that the soldier can. And so it's because the idea of that was they need to be able to sequence their kids or their in-laws as they get older, and it'd be nice if both the husband and the wife had access to that information. The spouse also has friends in their lives that aren't necessarily the same circles as the soldier, and so we want that spouse to be green as much as they can as well. Yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, so the facilitators, you guys are the ones that are ultimately deciding who gets the core account. So Brian is about to walk you through how you do all that, but we want y'all to grant these core accounts to soldiers, whether it's at an event or they're in your care, if you're an NCO, to your squad. That's our hope. That's our vision for that. So Chaplain Coyne or Crawley will provide guidance on, what the parameters are for y'all to do that specifically. What what I'll tell you is from our standpoint, you get better at this and this becomes more effective for you as you utilize it and use it and get the reps. And we'll talk a little bit about this on the next slide, but we have some follow-up. For now, we have some follow-up Zoom sessions where we can talk about learnings and what people are observing or struggling with to use this and implement this and explain this to others. So we want to keep supporting y'all post training and create forums to do that. And those sessions are more effective if people actually have experiences doing that. And so what we would tell you is, as needed, try to do 1 or 2 a week just to get used to it. But again, Chaplain Coyne is going to have to provide y'all the official guidance on that. But this class has had 400 accounts granted to it because, again, we see y'all using it. So it averages on a class size of 20, about 20 accounts per facilitator. And so, y'all will also be able to connect to third parties as facilitators, and Brian will walk you through this. And so we want the soldiers and the soldiers' spouses in a core account to be able to connect one-on-one with people in their squads. We want the facilitator, if they're in a counseling session or a coaching session, to be able to put a spouse and a soldier side by side and talk to them together, or soldier to soldier, or whatever that looks like. If you're doing some kind of training in like this type of setting, we've got some facilitator notes and some training videos. We're spending this quarter shooting a number of these trainings and putting some professional videos together. So you'll see the videos grayed out right now, but hopefully toward the end of this quarter, those videos will be uploaded and facilitator notes finalized. There's some in there right now, but those will be finalized as we pull that video footage together, just so it'll be an assist until y'all get more comfortable doing it yourself and making it your own. So that's why there's an asterisk there, is those will be completed. We're targeting end of the year time frame. Multi-user invites. If y'all are hosting a more of a training event setting, you can do a QR code that or send an invite that multiple people can click on all at one time and set up an event in a folder. Again, Brian's going to walk you through all this. And again, y'all have access to the movement tool, which we demonstrated yesterday. We're looking to put that up in the next couple weeks and make that live for everybody. And yeah, we'll talk about bringing it home later. And then there's an application tool that'll also be coming, where just like you listen to the audio of Rob talking on the movement tool, there will be topics such as money, parenting, health that he talks about based on sequence as well. So those are the things that are coming. So any questions on any of that before I turn it over to Brian?
What is the associated cost for forward and
So the companion account is included in the price of the core account. I'm gonna defer to Chaplain Coyne or Chaplain Crawley. I don't know if we need to get into pricing here. I don't mind sharing, but
you can get into pricing, because at the end of the day, regardless of what we do in the mission, individual commanders have their own.
okay, thank you. So, great, yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So core accounts are $150 for the soldier. And it's again, it's a twofer because both the soldier and the spouse get access to the same information. And I don't want to call it's dynamic, but it is, again, it's something that's evergreen in that it's going to be staying up to date. And as they get restationed or PCS or have, just new people come into their lives, they can continually be adding to their squads. And so, and so that's the pricing for that. In this current setup, the way that we're rolling this out, for a class size of about 20, all in, it's about $2,000 for y'all to be here for the full week and to get the core count. That includes your tuition, as well as all of our expenses that are tied to that. $2,000 per person for a class size of roughly 20. The per person cost would increase if we're training 6 people as opposed to 25, because airfare gets spread around a lot better. Yes, sir. Facilitator account. Yes, we envision you taking this, if you're a squad leader, taking it back to your squad specifically. If you're as a chaplain or religious affairs specialist, as you're leading a small group or just talking to soldiers one-on-one who are in your care, or at a broader training event, introducing this framework to them.
Michael, you also may want to mention that in that facilitator training also includes the follow-up trainings and remote Zooms and
Yeah, all
all that kind of
the
stuff.
follow-on support that we talked about, and Rob will give you his email address here shortly. And so if you've got a one-on-one specific issue that you really need to work through, in addition to the Zoom forums, is all part of that. So this class has 400, and so you don't have anything specifically designated to you, and that's where we have to look to you and Chaplain Coyne to say each one of y'all, that's divided evenly. So we're sending Chaplain Coyne, and he hasn't told us the exact frequency to do that yet, but we haven't asked him either. So he's sending, we're going to send him reports, so he'll be able to watch utilization. But you guys have 400 accounts to manage as
So real quick, let me frame it. We owe you that, but this is tied into a larger vision effort. So that's what I can't just tell you. What I will tell you though is I want you to flexibility. You trust your judgment. I'm here to give for it. And so you need to, obviously decision maker, it doesn't work out. However, you make your call right now. You think someone needs it, if it's critical to your effort right now, then go for it. And we'll figure it out. Otherwise, we will, in the coming days, publish guidance how to get the larger decision effort. We'll maximize that. We don't want to nickel and dime some things and then take away from our others. So that's just so you know where we're at. We got things coming up that work to do. Make sense? So trust your judgment. If I see you use 10, or you use 10. You make your call. If it's necessary at a certain level. One, you do your job. Two, is convince to accomplish your mission and convince those who need it. Is that enough, guys?
Sorry if I put you on the spot. Okay. Yeah. Yes, right now it's free. Our intent is to be helpful to people, where they're at and in their lives. And if 10,000 base accounts are getting sent out and people are trying to, just survey the world and not share it and use it to actually help people, then we'll revisit that. But our preference is to give y'all the liberty. We want to encourage usage, and a risk-free way is a great way to do that. We're not intending to do a bait and switch, but just lastly, Rob reminded me of this. So we've got I'd say new and improved notepads that are in your bags over here. If you'll grab a bag on your way out, it's got 10 or so notepads, 20 of the tent cards that are in front of you. And Brianna, we're also sending her home with an entire box full of these notepads and a lot of extra tent cards. And sometime this quarter, we're also going to have those in a printable version on the app, so you can print those yourself if you'd like as well. So just please, sometime today before you leave, make sure you pick up a bag.
All right, guys, I'm going to show you a couple of the power user features you have as facilitators. I'm at the back of the room, so I can actually use the computer, but feel free to just look at the screens and not back here. Several of you have maybe connected with your spouse, but not actually set up that companion account. So at that point, your spouse has the base level account with just a sequence. If you haven't done that, on your dashboard over here in the companion account will be an add companion button. So all you have to do is hit that and select your spouse that you've already connected with. And then the next time she opens her screen, she'll have the full ability to invite her friends and read through the material and the likes and dislikes and all that kind of stuff. Just as soon as you add her as your companion. I say her, this is all yeah. So we walked through your squads this week. I think I've used the your squads thing quite a bit as you're inviting people, and you just quickly use the share button. And as we said at the beginning of the week, that's an individual, you're creating an individual link. You're specifying how this person's related to you. You're creating a one-time use link for specific to that person. And based on that relation, it's going to fall into one of these buckets: family, work, friends. You have the ability as facilitators to be a lot more organized. So nearly all of that is going to exist in this folders section of your menu. Some of you may have already explored that. If you haven't, you can expand your folder tree. You'll see at the top of your tree is work, family, and friends. Those correspond exactly to the ones you've on the squad screen. So if you see those here, then they're in the same place there. They're not two separate lists. And this is hierarchical, so you can go subfolders of subfolders of subfolders. If you look at your squad screen, all that rolls up into your one work list. So for example, here is this group here, and you can expand it that way. And if you click on the name of the folder, it takes you to a kind of a folder view where you can quickly see all the sequences, balances. Right here at the top is your subfolders. I have one here, or you can add a new subfolder and just give it any name you want, and now you can start putting people in that folder if you want to stay organized that way. The thing about folders is this is also a place where you can create group invitations or a link that works for multiple people. And whenever you're inside a folder view here, that's the button right at the top, group invite. Just grab that. You're going to have the same option you had before, whether you want everyone that clicks that link to have a core account or a base account. So once this link is created, it can be used unlimited amount of times until it expires. Typically, you want to share your sequence with them. That option is there if you don't. So when you create this link, it's going to look very similar to that other screen. So this is a core account link, and we have a default expiration in 3 days. If you're done with it, you can hit this remove button and get rid of it so that no one else can use it. But it's a very similar process in a group setting. You can just throw this up on the screen. This is exactly what we did for you guys on day one when you walked in. We threw.
Had a LPD, like if I just had like 10 people, like, hey, I just want to do this for an hour. This would be something that you could do. They could take a picture with their phone with your team, and they would be right there. So I just wanted to jump in and
Yeah,
give them
that's
a
great.
couple
Thank you, Rob.
applications of how that would work. Rebecca?
Yes.
Yes.
This will have them take the assessment. And thank you for asking that, because similar to whenever you send the other link, if they have already taken an assessment, if they already have an account, it just adds their sequence to your folder so you can see what it is. They don't have to retake it. So it kind of functions, all of our links function in 2 ways, both as account creators and also friend requests. So if they've already got one, it's essentially a friend request. They'll show up as soon as they hit connect, they're in your folder, and you can see their sequence and their numbers and everything about them. Yes.
Say along those lines, they don't have to retake the assessment, and it also goes with them wherever they go. So even if they leave the 82nd, they still have it.
Right.
As long as
And if you're not in a group setting with a visual on the QR code, there is the link is right here at the top with the copy button. So you can text and email that out. Just being aware that the link will work until it expires or you remove it. Along these same lines, you can come in here. This is kind of where your tools are for things. You can play around. We're going to add a lot of features in this area here. This is kind of the power user view. So I can grab any 2 people in this group and grab up here and connect them and see the side by side really quickly. And also, if you haven't noticed, I bet a lot of you have already found this, but anytime you're on this blue-green screen, this connect screen, where you're looking at 2 people and how they should interact, these little people buttons in each corner allow you to switch either side of this view to any person you've connected with. So at any time, I'll grab Ann, she's in here. You can switch either side of this and see how those sequences go together.
So if I'm in a counseling session with a couple and they have their children, I could end up sort of bringing that up and saying, the mom says, hey, I'm having problems with my second child. Well, if they if they've already given them the assessment, we could end up showing them right there. Like we just pull the second child up with the mom, and we can end up sort of talking that with them. Not from my phone, but from their phone. They have that. So that's what we're trying to do is pull that. How do you interact with anybody that you have? So
this is really our other major screen. This is, when it comes to sequencing, this is our power screen where we're going to keep adding more and more features. So you can see in this account movement and application and these things, we're already testing this stuff for our next release. And that's the other side of this, is that this account is, upgraded. We try to do a monthly release with new features. We'll send out emails letting you know when new features are there, but keep checking back because stuff isn't there. If stuff isn't there now, it'll be there soon. Go ahead, Rob.
yeah, the other application of that is that I have a squad leader who's having issues with 2 of her soldiers. Well, that would be able to where she could pull them both up, or how that would work. So there's a lot of application for that leader to be able to problem solve, deconflict, see what's going on with that too. So we think that's going to be a really great feature.
So this is also the screen where you would select people and you would move them to another folder. All that stuff's going to be right here in the action menu. And if I go back a couple levels, you just can kind of see the full view and create as many, kind of a more organized view of all your assessments and people.
So before I had the DDP, I used to go to my battalion and I would keep I did this on my own spreadsheet. I would keep Alpha Company, Platoon 1, 2, 3 all together. And then I'd break it down where I had the platoon and I'd break it down so I had all that linked organizationally. So it just helped me help me with that. So now that all can be done here. So if you guys, you talk to your top leadership and Alpha Command Team says, hey, I want you to come and talk to my guys. Well, you can build a folder for, let's say, Platoon 1 or something, right? And you would end up organizationally put that together. It could really help you. And then that can be moved around. So that's another feature organizationally that could really help you and your command teams just begin to look at your soldiers from a hierarchical perspective. So that's what those folder management features are there.
Exactly. So just like you guys have the ability to throw a QR code up for an entire group on the screen like we did, if you're presenting the material and you want to do the same thing, we can. In these modules here, you also have the speaker notes, which is essentially the same notes that we use this week as Rob is walking through this. Up there on his screen, he sees the notes view. So it's the same thing here. If you open up these slides, you can if you're on a laptop, you can do the same thing we're doing here, where you go to your display settings and do a second screen, and you extend it over, put the slides up on one screen, and then you hit the S key and you get the speaker note view here, where you're seeing the current slide, the next slide, and then the kind of our notes of instructing that. Yes. That's a limitation that I'm looking into. It's for some reason the way that this software works, to pull up the speaker notes, you have to hit the letter S on the keyboard. And iPads, you can't really focus the web page and pull up the keyboard and hit the letter S. There's a disconnect there. So I'm looking at workarounds for that, because I would love for you to be able to do that on an iPad. Yes. So, yes, right. So that's the speaker notes view. This view it doesn't pull up immediately like this. Just so you know, there's a little layout button over here, so you can lay these out however your works best for your screen. So don't miss that if you're wondering why it doesn't look quite the same. But there's the notes of kind of walking through these slides with someone else. And that's the final thing I wanted to mention is support. So if you are having questions, or you just have an idea for a feature you would like, even as simple as I can't pull the speaker notes up on an iPad, or I wish folders worked this way, anything like that, we're happy to hear all of it. In your menu here, there's a support link. All that's just an email address to support@core-recon.com. So we'll get all of those, and we're happy to hear feedback, good and bad, ideas, any problems, all of that kind of stuff. So that's all I've got, Rob.
This is going to sound redundant. I'll be redundant, but I think it's really important. When you give a core account to your soldier, can you walk them through? I know they've already walked through the companion account, Brian, but can you just I want to emphasize that, because when you give a soldier a core account, you are also giving that soldier a companion account. So don't forget that. So if you could help that soldier walk them through how to do that, then you've really connected them and their spouse, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their fiance, whoever they give that to. So can we just sort of let them visually see that one more time? I know they've all done it themselves, but let's just walk that again.
Sure. Let's see, how would this is inviting someone, a core account, who's going to give it to their
Companion?
Yeah, so, right. So if I sent this link to someone, they would be able to open it. This would be the same process you went through on day one, where Sorry, that's just a second. This is the person you've sent the core invite to, going through the process of to the soldier first, right? Right.
What happens for you is NCOs and chaplains is that what you were able to help that soldier with at that moment with the core account and the companion account is that you give them time for him and his wife to talk to each other without you being there. Because now we just load you both with information about each other. That can be very helpful. That's why I really think it's important that don't forget to help teach that skill to your children how to connect that. You guys follow right?
Right.
This is where the spouse. So the spouse is taking their assessment right now.
This is the soldier. So they have a full core account. They can create connections. They can, but you can't add in a companion without a connection. So right now, since the soldier was invited by you, in this case, the you is Rob Cook. So they need to share. Like that. I can't do third. Yeah, third sign in. Yeah. So this is the spouse. So at this point, the spouse is creating a base account because that's the core account was sent them the invite. So essentially, they're creating a base account, and once that account is created, this is what a base account looks like. You may not have seen it. But you see, there's not any options for adding people. There's not any options for adding a companion. It's really just a sequence and a quick summary. So that's what the base account looks like. So once that's done, now back to the soldier in their account can come in and add companion and see spouse person there. Sorry, yeah. Which is just on the dashboard is where that's at. So it's right at the top. If you're on a phone, it's right below this area. The Add Companion button is right here. It's Add Companion Plus. So you just have to have the person you want to be your companion has to be in your squad. So if I hit this button, I select that new spouse that just got a sequence. I confirmed this is my spouse, and that's done. I now see the right here. It's kind of permanently there for easy, quick access for any time. I need to jump into that, and if I go back to so their account here, which is a base account now, as soon as I hit refresh, it's now a full core account. There's the spouse. There's the ability to connect to my squad. All that's it's now a core level account, and they can have their own friends and family in there.
So as a team, I think that's a really important step to impact that family. So when they leave you, or you if that's one of your soldiers, like, hey, I want a core count, here's a companion. Just, we can, there's some things that we can probably do as a team to help that process. I believe that's a really important step for you to know, understand. I think the bottom line is that they have to be in your squad before that companion count can be connected. Is that the bottom line, Brian?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Anything else on your end, Brian?
No.
Okay, okay. Okay, any questions on admin? We believe that's really important. It's just not admin. We believe that's going to help you. So I guess I need to. So let me just say a few things. So we really want you to learn core and live core, and try to demonstrate that, not as just sort of some phrase that sounds good or sound bite. I really believe that. Like, for me, I've learned it. It's probably learning core. That's how I really am doing, and we want you to live it. We want you to give assessments so that you can get sequences, right? We want you to be able to give assessments to your squad so that you can get their sequences, and then we want you to experience that. That's the way you're going to learn. I'm going to try to bring up Will, let him talk in a few minutes about something that he did this week. So Will got a sequence, and he experienced core just in the process, and that's what we want you to do. We do have some 3 video conference sessions that you're going to do with me, since I'm your facilitator in this training, post-training. So next week, you're going to get an email from us, and those are just Zooms, or I think we use Zooms.
Yeah, it'll be for, the sessions will be for about 3 weeks out from now, but the email will come next week.
They're just 1 hour. They're just 1 hour. And I've had to do 350-1 training as a chaplain in the reserves, like on teams, and it was a joke, right? I mean, as reservists, everybody's like dogs barking. There was one team that had, I think we heard like somebody mowing the grass because there was no video. I mean, it was just sort of a disaster. So we're not really trying to do check the box here. We're really trying to say, hey, we want to do you guys have an option to be with me for an hour, and let's talk about how to get started, right? What are the things that you need to do? So with that said, let me say this. When you go give the QR code to somebody, or you send a link, or you're having them take the assessment, I think setting the table is really important. And through the years, I've learned to say, hey, here's the assessment. I don't care what your dad says, what your mom says about you. I really want you to answer it for yourself, not for anybody else. Just have fun with it and just go with your gut, right? Just that's the set the table. That's what we're trying to do, right? And you're going to hear, well, sometimes I'm this way. And say, whatever you think that you are, that's what I want, right? I mean, I understand that, but just, go through the assessment. So I just want to tell you that it's really easy. Don't make it complicated, right? There's going to be some people that may take 30 seconds. There may be some people who may take 7 minutes, right? And they may be somebody who has 4 ties, and they continue to they have a tie because your phone says you have a tie. I'm great with a tie. It shows balance. Do you guys understand what I just said? If there's a tie, like 4 7s or 4 8s, you're going to end up having somebody that has, balance between 4, 6, 4, 5, and 6. So that's not a problem. So I've just learned to trust the equipment, let them break the tie. And if it gets to that point, just say, just take your time. And the phone says, take your time. But I say that verbally, just take your time, right? It's okay. I'll just sit here, no rush. And we just do that. Brian?
Yeah, on that, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you have that, for those who really like someone who's a 10 something and then a 4, they fit into the category neatly, and you can really pin them down. But the less that gets, the more it's harder to pin them down, which then makes it more nebulous when you're trying to work through that.
Yes and no. I mean, I've seen somebody who have 4 7s. Okay, and remember, years and years I've done this on paper. I haven't had this, right? So you would think, okay, this is where we're going. And I'm just telling you my experience, okay? This is only Rob's experience. So I've seen this where they've gone like 9 and 5. Okay, I'm trying to make this simple. So if I'm saying, okay, they're gonna go 9-5, so they're just gonna go break the 7s. I mean, I don't say anything, I just watch. And what they end up doing is that this becomes 9, 5, 6, 8. And I'm like, wait, something just happened. There's no way they can do that. And then I just trust my equipment. I talk it, right? And so the process I've just learned has been really interesting for me, right? So to your question, it could be, but I've just sort of take it and you're going to have to experience it yourself and see how that plays out. But what Brian was saying is that it would be nebulous because it's sort of all close. I'm 9876, right? And I just talked to somebody here at Bragg this week whose numbers are really close, and I talked his piece in a very high level, quick way, and he was like, yeah, that's right. So if it's nebulous, I don't know, or if it's Jeff who is OCRE, and if Jeff and I are similar, but we're really different. So I've seen even the close numbers still break the sequences, and we will go with that OCRE versus that OCER. Does that make sense to you?
And I think our guidance is, to the extent you can, don't try to add a whole lot more to the instruction because it's designed to be a little instinctive. So you want them to take it, you want them to choose the words that they think best describes them,
Yeah.
and let them go with it.
Yeah.
And some people, by sequence, are going to analyze it a lot more than others, but we'll try. We don't want to, because that.
Yeah, and there's some other, and I'm just telling my experience. There's some people I know who take the assessment. I'm like, man, there's no way that's you. That's my perception of them, right? But once I talk to them about their own assessment, yeah, they're like, that's me. I was like, man, I guess I had you wrong, right? Or anyway, you're just going to find your own experience as you do. If you do this, if you just war game this and say, hey, I don't know if it is or isn't, and you don't use it, then you're just going to be talking about something that you haven't really experienced. But you're going to have your own experiences with this, and you're going to talk that through. Bobby in the class has had the most experience of anybody, so I'm just trying to give you some practical advice when it comes to giving the assessment. We think that's really important.
So just a quick heads up, part of my experience is that when you sequence some people, they look at what you tell them and they go, nope, that's wrong. That's not me. But if you keep working it, just don't surrender to that immediately, but keep working it and talk to them about it. Usually they end up going, wow, I guess that really is me. And I'll give you a quick story. We're working with a lady right now that the sequence is ERCO. ERCO. And the work that she does is very detailed work. And that scared us to death when we saw her sequence. But we know that because she's ER, she'll take action quick, and she's got the big picture in mind, but we knew she was going to be weak on the details and organization. And when I sequenced her, first time I ever met her, she said, no, that's not me. I'm really detailed. I'm really detailed. Well, we've set up 3 meetings with her so far. The first one she missed. The second one was the makeup. She was there on time. The third one, she was late. That was this morning. She was late, and she pulled in and said, hey, I'm sorry I'm 6 minutes late. I was 20 minutes early. I said, no problem. Here's the paperwork you need. And she said, and I totally missed my physical therapy appointment because I overslept. I'm like, I wanted to say that's because you are CO. But I did.
I think the other thing to point out here, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about it probably after the Knowlton session, is sometimes the reason you miss them because of your perception of them is because you've encountered them when they're not in their first position, right, Rob?
Yes, I believe that happens.
I mean, we
Yeah.
saw that play out a lot in the last session.
Right. And I'm going to say, sometimes I have very rarely missed, not me, but are we saying that we won't miss? You could miss, but I've just very rarely seen it over time. It just continues to play out. So I just, yeah, that's why I'm passionate and believer. I have an accountant and a banker who's OLAST. So sometimes we get fooled because you think everybody in a certain job is going to be a certain way. And you're like, man, really? How do you? And it works. Okay. Yes.
We harp on confidentiality, right?
Okay.
As chaplains.
As a chaplain.
So
Okay.
this is not going to be confidential. I mean, by its very nature, this sequence is not going to be confidential. How have you navigated that expectation from clients? That
We don't see that as PII. We don't see that as PII. There's nothing PII about that. But yes, we have dealt with that question specifically.
Yeah. People doing a 40-word, word association assessment and our interpretation of that, that's not medical advice. That's not psychiatric diagnosis or advice or anything like that. We're just trying to help people connect very practically. So you're right. It's not confidential. And Brian kind of breezed through it, but if you click on the terms and conditions, it's pretty explicit that this isn't any of that. And if they read that, they're advised that we're not gonna publish it everywhere, but at the same time, we need to be able to use that data, and there's a disclosure there that we can, and they're willingly consenting to allow us to do that, and allow the Army to do that.
Okay.
And that's why there's no notes where y'all can write and save in their file that type of protected information that you may be referring to.
So if the PFC doesn't want his squad leader to know his sequence, it's better for the PFC not to take the test. Is that what?
Yes.
Brian, you can jump in.
So
Hey, let me throw that. Here you go.
We'll work through. It's a good point, but it might not be his choice.
You might hold that.
More than likely it won't be. So just like he doesn't have a choice to do his PHA. But here is the reality and your advisement role. And we will work through some of this as we move forward. Let's just go. What would your commanders like to do? What do they want to get after right now? Yeah, want to get after suicide. They like to reduce SIRs, chapters, you name it, right? And so what they would like to do, and if they're honest, they want to care for soldiers, but they would like a little ball to roll on out with a name on it and the SIR that's going to happen tomorrow. That's what they want. So there is a piece of our advisement that we need to work against that. And so here's how I would just frame this. So if we look at the end state, they might put in there, the suicide, SIRs, you name it, right?
That's what we had already decided back here.
How I have been framing it, and I would encourage you to do the same, is the end state is competent and equipped leaders. Okay? Because we have human problems, and the solution is leadership. That's what we want to get to. And if we do that right, we have second and third order effects. That is suicide, SIRs, all that other stuff that goes down. It's a different concept. That is our end state. And that affects everything. So that kills more bad guys on the battlefield. Better human beings, less suicide, everything else. This is the end state. We short circuit it when we go there. And so as core fits into this, this is one more tool that helps to do that. Does that make sense? Were we tracking? So I just want to highlight the trying to not stovepipe solutions like bureaucracies tend to do, because that's the hot topic. And we do want to reduce all those things. I just think the methodology is very important here, because this is a bigger picture, and this is a comprehensive picture, and this is core is just one tool that gets after the human solution to this problem, to all of these things, whether that's lethality on the battlefield or suicides.
Get really quick. I don't know if you have that on a slide, but that'd be helpful. I mean, that's yeah. That's what I would, if I was in your shoes, that's what I would go and talk to my battalion commander right there. Like my division chaplain said this. Yeah. You guys may want to take a picture of that. Right, I know you're writing it down, so I'm just going to give you time to write that down. Great guidance. So I think this is where you guys sort of cross-talk with each other, continue to talk with each other, right? No doubt Brian Chaplain Coyne is going to end up continuing to give you intent and guidance on what they're doing, what he thinks. And so just continue to, help massage this a little bit. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to give you a 5-minute break. And what I was going to train on this module, I'm going to bump. We have Sergeant Major Knowlton waiting in the wings from Italy that's going to end up doing a discussion, going to tell a story, and you're going to be able to Q&A with him. So after the 5-minute break, we're going to come in. I'm going to dialogue with Sergeant Major Knowlton. All right, let's take a 5-minute break. So in what you're writing with Alex.
This one? Test, test, test. Mike, are you picking that up? Are you just grimacing because I have that effect on people?
No. Hey, it's
Joe, I didn't hear him. I know you're working on that. I'm just talking. You need me to test it again, Joe?